They came for one of theirs. They found who did it. And when The Rock, Roman Reigns, and the entire Bloodline finished delivering their answer, the person who put Jey Uso in a hospital bed found themselves in one too. Justice in the Bloodline does not come from a courtroom. It does not come from an authority figure's decision. It comes at the hands of a family that takes care of its own completely, personally, and without a single apology. You wanted consequences. The Bloodline delivered them. And tonight we tell the complete story of the most devastating, most personal, most perfectly executed act of family justice WWE has ever produced. Suplex Rumble Nation, welcome back. I am your host. And I want to begin today with a statement that I believe every single member of this community will agree with completely. There are moments in professional wrestling that feel earned. Moments where the weeks of investment, the mystery, the suspense, the emotional buildup, the accumulated tension of a fan base that has been waiting for justice finally arrive at their payoff. And the payoff is not just satisfying, it is complete. It answers every question. It fulfills every expectation. And it does so with a level of execution and impact that exceeds what even the most optimistic version of anticipation had constructed. The Bloodline and The Rock leaving Jey Uso's attacker Hospitalised is that moment. The complete payoff. The earned consequence. The justice that the WWE Universe demanded from the moment Jey was found broken in that backstage corridor. It has been delivered. Fully. And today we honor every layer of how it happened, why it happened, and what it means for everything heading toward WrestleMania 42. Subscribe if you are new. Hit that notification bell. And drop a comment telling me on a scale of 1 to 10 how satisfying this justice delivery was for you personally. Let's go into every extraordinary detail of this story together right now. Great payoff moments in professional wrestling do not arrive without the architecture that makes them inevitable. And the specific payoff of the Bloodline hospitalizing Jey Uso's attacker was built across weeks of storytelling that deserve to be honored before we discuss the conclusion they produced. The original attack on Jey Uso established the wound. The specific, deeply personal violation of a family member being targeted and the quality of that targeting, the calculated brutality of it, the evident intent to cause maximum damage established immediately that whatever response the Bloodline delivered would need to match the severity of what had been done. Moderate responses to extreme provocations create narrative dissatisfaction. The severity of Jey's hospitalization demanded a response of equivalent weight. The investigation chapter, The Rock and Roman Reigns working together to identify the attacker, eliminating suspects, following evidence, applying the combined institutional knowledge and analytical intelligence of the two most powerful figures in the Bloodline built the anticipation of consequence. Every week that the investigation continued without resolution added pressure to the eventual release. The longer the search lasted, the more loaded the moment of finding became. The full Bloodline assembly, every member answering the call, internal differences subordinated to family priority, the visual of a unified faction operating at maximum collective capacity established the scale of the response. When a force of that magnitude is assembled and pointed at a specific target, the audience understands that what follows will be comprehensive. And The Rock's specific involvement, his personal investment in the hunt, his presence in the assembled Bloodline, the specific combination of his institutional authority and physical presence with the rest of the family added a dimension that elevated the anticipated consequence beyond anything the Bloodline alone could have delivered. All of that architecture, all of those weeks, all of that accumulated narrative pressure, released in the moment the Bloodline and The Rock found Jey Uso's attacker and made them understand completely and permanently the cost of what they had done. The Rock's specific contribution to what the Bloodline delivered to Jey Uso's attacker requires its own dedicated segment because The Rock's role in this moment was not simply additive, it was transformative. His presence changed the nature of what the Bloodline's response became in a way that nobody else could have produced. The Rock has a relationship with Jey Uso that predates the current chapter of their shared story. Within the Uso'S family structure, the generational wrestling dynasty whose legacy The Rock represents at its most culturally visible level, Jey is not simply a fellow performer or a faction associate. He is family in the specific, genuine, generationally connected sense that the Bloodline's most significant moments have always drawn power from. When Jey Uso was hospitalized, when someone targeted a member of the Uso'S family with deliberate, calculated brutality, The Rock's response was not the response of a faction member whose colleague had been attacked. It was the response of a family elder whose younger family member had been violated. That distinction is everything. Family elders in the Uso'S tradition carry a specific responsibility, not just for their own position or their own program or their own WrestleMania ambitions, but for the protection and the honor of the family as a whole. When The Rock inserted himself into the search for Jey's attacker, he was not making a strategic wrestling decision, he was fulfilling a generational obligation. And when The Rock is fulfilling a generational obligation, when the performance layer that usually characterizes his WWE appearances is replaced by the genuine, personally motivated force of someone acting on real family principle, the result is something considerably more powerful than anything the entertainer persona produces. The most electrifying man in sports entertainment is extraordinary. The Rock acting his family as the most culturally significant member of a dynasty that takes its responsibilities seriously is something else entirely. And Jey Uso's attacker found out what that something else looks like in its most direct, most physical, most permanent expression. Let's reconstruct the specific moment, the actual delivery of consequence, and the detail it deserves. Because this is the centerpiece of everything. The moment that every week of storyline investment was building toward. And it deserves to be examined and honored with the same care that went into building toward it. The Bloodline had located their target. The investigation had led them to a specific place, a specific moment, a specific confrontation that all parties understood on some level was going to be definitive. The attacker knew, when the Bloodline arrived, that the situation they were now in was the direct result of the decision they had made when they put Jey Uso in a hospital. Roman Reigns positioned himself at the center of what followed because Roman Reigns is always at the center. The tribal chief's physical authority in any confrontation he is part of sets the parameters for everything else. His presence alone communicates the stakes. And with The Rock beside him, the two most powerful figures in the Bloodline standing together with the rest of the family assembled around them, the parameters communicated were absolute. The Rock spoke. Because The Rock always speaks first in situations that warrant it, and this situation warranted it more than any other in his current WWE chapter. What he said was not a promo. It was not performed for an audience. It was the specific, direct, completely untheatrical communication of a man telling another person exactly what is about to happen and exactly why. Then the Bloodline acted. Together. With the specific coordination of a family that has operated as a collective force long enough to move as one organism when the situation demands it. Roman, The Rock, Jimmy, Solo, each contributing what they specifically bring to the Bloodline's collective physical vocabulary, each delivering their portion of the consequence with the specific energy of someone for whom this is personal. The attacker, whoever had calculated that their reasons for targeting Jey Uso were worth the risk of the Bloodline's unified response, received the complete education in what that calculation had actually cost them. Every moment of their planning, every step of their execution, every week of the investigation they had generated, all of it arriving simultaneously in the form of the most unified, most personally motivated, most completely delivered family reckoning professional wrestling has ever produced. When it was over, when the Bloodline had finished saying everything they needed to say in the specific language they had chosen to say it, the attacker was in a condition that required the same medical attention they had forced upon Jey Uso. The symmetry was not accidental. It never is with Roman Reigns. After the physical consequence had been delivered, after the Bloodline had said everything that needed to be said without words, The Rock did something that elevated this moment from a powerful faction response into a genuine WWE historic moment. He spoke again. Not to the attacker, who was in no condition to receive verbal communication at that point in any meaningful way. He spoke to the WWE Universe, to the cameras that had captured what just happened, to every performer in the locker room who would inevitably see this footage and understand its implications. The Rock's closing statement in the aftermath of the Bloodline's delivery of justice was delivered with the specific quality of his most significant WWE moments, the ones where the performance and the person are indistinguishable from each other.